Capitalism doesn't demand better. I recently heard the phrase, capitalism doesn't demand better. I don't think it was meant as a cheap shot at business or markets, or people trying to make an honest living. I run a business and understand the risks and the incentives of ownership and why it matters. If nobody is willing to take a risk to build something, then nothing gets built. But running a business also teaches you exactly what the market is and what it isn't. The market doesn't wake up in the morning and ask if we're becoming better humans. It doesn't check to see if families are stronger or communities are healthier. Whether our institutions are more trustworthy or if people are living meaningful lives. Those simply aren't the metrics it was built to track. Instead, it asks a highly specific, highly optimized set of questions. Can this be sold? Can this be scaled? Can this be owned? Can this be defended? Can this be turned into a return? In a lot of cases, that exact framework has produced things we genuinely benefit from. It has driven the innovation, competition, efficiency, and wealth that built the world, where ordinary people have access to things kings couldn't have imagined a few hundred years ago. But there is a parallel reality we have to look at. A system designed strictly to answer those commercial questions can produce better tools without producing better lives. It can create endless choices without creating a shred of wisdom. It can make things faster, cheaper, and more convenient while slowly hollowing out the humans using them. That is the tension we need to talk about, because we're entering a strange moment in history where technology is starting to flirt with something that used to sound like science fiction: post-scarcity. This doesn't mean a magical utopia where nobody works and everything is free. There will always be a scarcity of time, attention, trust, beauty, and wisdom. But in certain areas, the old scarcity story is breaking down. Information can be copied endlessly. Software can be distributed globally. AI can produce analysis, writing, code, and music at an unprecedented scale. With automated manufacturing and radically cheaper education, knowledge that used to be locked away in elite institutions can now be accessed by anyone with a phone. For most of human history, the defining question was, how do we make enough? How do we grow enough food, build enough houses, and survive winter, drought, and disease? Scarcity was the background condition. It was the water we swam in. But as technology changes what we can produce, the question shifts. It becomes less about whether we can make enough and more about who controls what we've already learned how to make. This is where our current economic model gets deeply uncomfortable. Capitalism is brilliant at organizing scarcity. It's unmatched at pricing things, rationing resources, rewarding production, and punishing waste. But what happens when the problem isn't production anymore, or when the problem becomes access? We can create abundance in certain areas, but our current economic architecture still needs people to experience scarcity just to keep the wheels turning. This is the inflection point where the phrase, late-stage capitalism, starts to matter. I know the phrase has baggage and is often used as a lazy, one-size-fits-all complaint for everything from expensive housing to depressing dating apps. But when we define it carefully, it describes something very specific: the stage where a system becomes so efficient at turning things into markets that it starts converting human life itself into a business model. Under this lens, attention becomes inventory, loneliness becomes engagement, and education morphs into credential debt. Healthcare becomes billing architecture, while community becomes platform activity. Creativity becomes content, identity becomes branding, and abundance becomes subscription access. The unsettling thing isn't just that the market struggles with abundance. It's that the market can reach a point where it must actively preserve, simulate, or manage scarcity in order to protect the business model. We already live with a version of this. A digital file can be copied at zero cost, but access is locked behind paywalls. A piece of software can be distributed to millions, but it's rented forever instead of owned. A drug may be cheap to manufacture, but prohibitively expensive to access. A platform can connect everyone, but its business model requires it to keep everyone anxious, scrolling, and hooked. People should be paid for their work, and companies need revenue. I'm not arguing that everything should be free simply because it can be copied. But we have to notice the pattern. When abundance arrives inside a system built around scarcity, the system doesn't automatically become generous. It figures out how to meter the abundance and build a gate, and it charges admission. Because the market lacks an internal moral compass, post-scarcity won't automatically make our lives better. We could have AI powerful enough to educate almost anyone and still use it mostly to manipulate consumers. We could automate huge amounts of labor and still leave people terrified of losing their health insurance, housing, and dignity. We could increase productivity beyond anything our grandparents could have imagined, and still tell ordinary people there's just not enough to go around. Does this feel like institutional failure to you? Markets are incredibly efficient tools, but these tools are not wise enough to be the final judge of a society. They can tell us what people will pay for, but not what people should become. They can tell us what is profitable, but not what is sacred. They can tell us what scales, but not what heals. If we don't talk about the gap, we're going to walk into a future with unbelievably powerful tools and the same tired operating system underneath them. My worry isn't that the technology won't work. It's that humanity will use abundance to deepen dependency. We'll create tools that could free us all, but instead carefully design them to addict us instead. We'll create intelligence that could help people understand the world, but use it to flood the world with synthetic noise. We'll have more capability and less maturity. That may be the defining problem of our time: immaturity with power. A post-scarcity society can't just be a society with more stuff. More entertainment doesn't make people free. More convenience doesn't make people whole. A real conversation about the future has to ask what the economy is actually for. We need to ask, is the economy here to serve human development? Or are humans here to feed the economy? We avoid this because we've been trained to treat economic growth as the ultimate answer. We need to stop and ask the questions. Growth toward what? Productivity for what? If the answer is always just more, then we haven't answered anything. We've just built a machine that can't stop eating. This is what some people are feeling when they look at the world today. They feel life getting more optimized and less humane. Institutions are talking about care while behaving like extraction machines. They feel every corner of life becoming a transaction, where even rest is a product, friendship is a network, and outrage is engagement. This is a spiritual crisis, dealing directly with meaning, dignity, and purpose. And because the market can't demand better families, trustworthy institutions, meaningful work, or wisdom, we have to ask, who will? Post-scarcity won't save us if we drag the same scarcity-shaped imagination into it. We'll just recreate the old world with better tools, ending up with abundance on paper and anxiety in practice. If we can produce enough but still organize society around fear, then scarcity has stopped being a material condition. It has become a management strategy, a way to keep people compliant, competing, and buying. Tools are not gods. A hammer can build a house, but it can't tell you what makes a home. A market can organize exchange, but it can't tell you what makes a life. The next economic system shouldn't begin with a revolution to destroy or defend the old way at all costs. It should begin with a more adult question. What parts of our system helped us create abundance, and what parts will keep us from using that abundance wisely? This doesn't require us to pretend markets are evil or sacred. It asks us to grow up. Capitalism was a powerful scarcity-era operating system. But as we enter an abundance-era world, we need an abundance-era moral imagination. Without wisdom, abundance won't feel like freedom. It'll feel like control with better branding. The point isn't to wait for the system to change on its own. It won't. The point is to decide what we're going to demand from the system we build next. If history looks back on us, let's ensure it doesn't say something tragically simple. They had enough. They just didn't know what enough was for.